Okay. I hit record again. Hopefully that worked. Thanks for the call out because I would have just kept going and going. I might need to restream. Let's see. No, it's still streaming. All right, it's working. Okay, cool. Well, so far so good. Come on, tech. Okay. Let's get back here. Just let me know if I freeze or anything wild happens. Again, put it in the chat. Thanks for doing that. Okay, so umbrella topics are going to help you choose your coaching title. Okay, so for those of you who need help with your coaching title, you want to start here, and then you probably want to add one more layer of specificity. Okay, so let me be clear. Coaching title. So how do I pick my coaching title? One, it should reflect my umbrella topic. That's one. And two, it should get one more layer specific. I'll give you an example. When I was a career coach, I realized that's too broad. There's a million career coaches. How can I be specific enough that people understand the urgent problem I'm helping them with? So because my who was executives, I added the word executive. And because the type of career coach I was helping people leave the jobs they hated and transition to jobs they loved. So guess what I called myself? An executive career change coach, executive career change coach, right? Much more specific than career coach. Another example, these are just examples of, my own niche journey. Business coach, right? I could just say I'm a business coach. I'm an entrepreneur coach. But no, I'm actually a business coach for corporate renegades turned coaches, right? Because that was me. I left my full-time corporate job and then I went into building a coaching business. For a while, it was also the six-figure business coach for coaches. Why? Because I'm helping coaches get to their first six figures, right? So for those of you who need help with your coaching title, feel free, either Brianna, Heather, Jenny, Marie, or Sheila, or anybody who's here with us live. If you need help with this as it pertains to your specific niche, or if you have a question for clarity, feel free to come off mute and tell me how I can help you in this topic. If you have a question on this topic, if this doesn't cover it for you, or if you're like, Betty, help me with my specific coaching title, come off mute and give me your goods. Tell me where I can help you. And if you're silent, I'm going to think that means you're processing. You're a processor like I am. Anybody here a processor? I'm a processor. Or if you're silent, I'm going to think that this is making sense to you. It was helpful. Okay, good, Sheila. Good. Brianna, I'm testing 3 options of how to word the niche in the ICA and getting real-time reactions. Ooh, love that, Brianna. Did you do a post somewhere, a survey, a post that was a survey or something like that? Like you did 2 ICA surveys so far. Amazing. And another one tomorrow. Can we put some love in the chat for Brianna, who's killing it out there? Taking action, my favorite kind of people. And you're tweaking the niche as you go, as you should. Amazing. Love it so much. Okay, great. I want to, the niche topic, leave you with one more thing, because this is probably going to come up again during tonight's Q&A. And by the way, just to tell you guys, you can hop off whenever you want tonight. This is, and actually Tabitha and Heather, that goes for you guys too. This is the night where I tend to stay a little bit longer. So this could be like 90 minutes because I really try to get through everybody's questions. So by all means, Tabitha, Heather, and anybody else, if you want to hop off, you can until I get through questions, but I'm going to wrap it up for sure by 8:30 Eastern Standard. But just don't want to make, if you get your questions answered, then, you're good to go. The other thing about the niche, and this is where I want to end it before I get into more specific things here too. We talked about the I help who with what so that. So as a reminder, this is the messaging part, because there's 3 different parts when it comes to the niche. There's the coaching title, there's the messaging, and then there's the positioning, how you position yourself amongst your competitors. So when it comes to the messaging, we're looking at this as your message. I help who with what so that. Now, I will say this, my amazing copy coach who's in the academy for my clients, help is getting, as you can imagine, a little overused. So feel free to whip out the old thesaurus and maybe you empower, maybe maybe there's a cooler word than help, that's fine. But I will say when it comes to the niche messaging, don't try to make it cutesy. Don't try to make it coachy. Just make it clear. Just make it clear. Okay, so the who, that's your ideal client avatar. Okay, that's the who. What might this entail? And this is part of what we help you do in program in module 1. Your ideal client avatar, this could be demographic, psychographic. It could have to do with what type of career they're in. What is their job title or the range of job titles? If you're coaching businesses, what type of businesses are you coaching? How large are the businesses? What type of businesses are they? Are they brick and mortar? Are they virtual businesses? What industry is your ICA in? Maybe you've been in human resources all life, your whole life, human resources. What a great network. Maybe you focus on people in human resources. Maybe you're going after, men or women, one or the other. Maybe you're going after a certain age demographic, a certain age group. Maybe you're going after Gen X or, boomers or whatever. So the list goes on and on. Your who, okay? Once you choose your who, then it's your what. Your what is the action you help them take, right? So your what is the action you help them take. That's your secret sauce. This is, the coaching action that you're like, I'm going to help you take this action to hit so that is, I'm going to help you take that action so you can hit your ultimate number 1 goal that you want to achieve. Okay. Now, where's all this info coming from? Your ICA surveys. You're trying to identify how these guys describe themselves, or maybe now, and be careful here. Sometimes people will say, like, let's say you want to say on the verge of burnout, and maybe your corporate people are like, no, I don't want to describe myself like that. Well, of course you don't want to describe yourself like that, right? I mean, that nobody wants to say that's me on the verge of burnout. So just be careful. Sometimes people are going to push back on the description of the who. We aren't asking, do you like it? We want to know, can you see yourself in that? In this statement, does that resonate with you? So just, again, this is something I coach on in the program. You got to be careful there. But the who is your ICA. The what, action you help them take. And the so, that's the number 1 goal you want them to achieve. And really, what is it? It's the opposite. It's the opposite of the urgent problem that's keeping them up at night that they'd pay anything to solve. Okay. So again, we get deep into this in the academy, but high level, here you go. Okay. As I'm going through this too, feel free to come off mute. Oh, Brianna's got her first complimentary session Wednesday afternoon. Brianna, you are killing it, Brianna. Love it. Roseanne's processing. Good. I'm a processor too. This is great. I'm glad you think so. Good, good, good. Okay. And feel free, y'all, too. This is an intimate group of us. I mean, you can just come off mute if what I'm talking about you have a question that is around what I'm talking about. If the question is on a different topic, then just stick it in the chat. Okay, so I'm moving on to niche statements, and I have a whole list here, but is there anybody that has a niche statement? I see Corey Herbert. I see Corey Hebert. I don't want to demolish your name. Hebert, Jade, Sheila, Brianna, or maybe there's two different names here. I don't know. Brianna, Natalie, Marie, Garcia, Jenny Lee. If you're any of these names, feel free to come off mute and I will help you right now with your niche statement. Or if you don't want to come off mute, just copy paste your niche statement in to the chat. I will actually start with Marie because she put this into the chat on day one, I think. So Marie, feel free to come off mute if you want to, but I am about to give you my feedback on your niche statement. And first thing I do, and by the way, y'all, this is when I say it's helpful, I think, to hear other people's questions. Oh, Marie, it was during the discovery call. So Marie, are you good on this niche statement? Are you saying you got help during your discovery call? Or where are you, Marie? Or do you need more help?
It was actually a draft.
Oh,
so
you can come off mute, or I can't hear you. Is it me now again? I can't hear. Maybe I can talk, but I can't hear. Is that what's happening to me? Probably. She can talk, but she can't hear. 1 second. One moment. If it's not one thing. Okay. Hold on, Marie. Okay. Speaker, microphone, AirPods. Okay. Let's try that again. Go ahead, Marie.
It was actually a draft. It's not the official one.
Okay. It wasn't the official one. So let me share my screen again. And so do you tell me, are you good here? Are you solid, or do you need feedback on this, or do you need feedback on a different statement, or are you good to go?
Actually, it's the word overwhelmed. I can know what I picture it in my mind, but I don't know if I should use that word.
Overwhelmed? Or which word was it?
Yeah, overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed. Okay. I help professional midlife women. So you guys added overwhelmed. I help overwhelmed. Is that right?
It's later on.
Oh, it's later on in the chat somewhere?
No, I mean in the niche statements, at the end of the niche statement.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. I see. It's here. Okay. All right. Well, let's take a look. I help professional midlife women. Okay, that's the who. And then, so, and by the way, you guys, this is what you can do for yourselves too. So here's the who. Here. So the first thing I do is I break it apart, the action you help them take. And then I break it into the so that, as far as what's the ultimate outcome or result. So the who, I help professional midlife women to better navigate through life's changes so that they won't feel as overwhelmed between their professional and personal lives. All right. Anything you want to share on this in general before I kind of give you a little bit of feedback?
No, I'm just not sure about it totally.
Okay, that's okay. Listen, I do this all day and I love doing this. So I would say for the who, let's start there. Professional midlife women. I would nix the word professional because it's just a little too generic. But I love midlife and women. I think that part is great. So I'm going to come back to the who. It would be great to change out professional, to change that out to something else. So I'm going to come back to that in a second. maybe before I even get into the rest of this, I have a question for you. And I want you to just rattle it off, the first thing that comes to your brain. With these women, they're midlife. I get that they're professionals. Um, Rattle it off and pretend, you are out to dinner with a really close friend and she is your ICA. In a nutshell, how is she describing to you her urgent problem? She's like, Marie, I can't stand this anymore. I'd pay anything to have help with this. What is she exactly telling you?
That at the end of the day, she's feeling like exhausted. The day flew like that. Too many things to do.
Great. Keep going.
Yeah, she doesn't see the day go. The day goes like a bullet, like a
Uh-huh.
bullet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Time goes too fast. Okay, great. And so you said so they don't feel as overwhelmed between their professional and personal lives. Okay. So I might, okay, action, better navigate through life changes. So for this part, I would get rid of life changes because that's again too generic. Um, so we'll come back to that in a second. But let me tell you, the way you just described to me what they're dealing with, that was perfect. I mean, the way, and I want to give this tip to everybody. If anybody ever struggles with their niche, I have my clients do this a lot. Record yourself describing it to a friend. Just hit the audio button on your phone, record yourself describing it to your spouse or a friend. Because I think the way you described it was great. What industry do you have a network with or experience with? Is there a specific industry that you're like, oh yeah, I have a big network of these type of people in this industry?
Well, right now, I work in a daycare, so part of what I listen is to parents complain that
Yes.
I have too many things to do, and also in my network have like in Facebook, and I have many people in network marketing and entrepreneurs that are trying to
Okay.
build a business.
Got it.
They just feel like exhausted between business and children, full-time job.
Okay. So I'll give you an example of something that could work for you potentially. And also, moms or grandmas or, I feel like the push and pull of the family, the job. I got to be superwoman. I got to be everything to everyone. Like, that is a real urgent problem out there. So I help um, midlife, you might say midlife moms. And then here I would insert a type of industry they work in. And so, for example, I help midlife moms. You could say in the service industry. You could say I help midlife moms who work with kids. Um, and you could talk about daycare or teachers or whatever. Um, or you could say I help midlife moms um, who are virtual entrepreneurs or who are trying to build a virtual business on the side. You see what I'm saying here? So the who, I would do something like that where they can see themselves. Like if you went on LinkedIn and you started doing outreach right away, you would be like, yes, I'm going after the women in the service industry, or I'm going after, okay, I know like a Facebook group of moms, or, what are all the types of jobs who work with kids or teachers, or, you know what I'm saying? So this is where I'd start. I help midlife moms in the fill in the blank industry. In the blank type of industry. And then what do we help them do? Let's come back to that in a second. The action you help them take. And then the so that, I do like where you were going with the so that they feel less exhausted and are able to, and again, this is going to be up to what your ICA tells you. I feel exhausted and I wish there was more time in the day so that they feel less exhausted and they feel less exhausted but feel like they got more done, accomplished. So it's almost like, oh my gosh, I went from feeling totally exhausted and like I didn't get anything done. I had nothing to show for it. And now I've got high energy and I feel like I got more accomplished. So then the action would be, that's Marie's secret sauce. How do we help them do that? Right? So navigating through life changes. Again, like I said, the life changes is a little bit, can you explain to me a little bit more about the action you, like, how would you help a midlife mom, for example, who's building a virtual entrepreneur business on the side, and she's got her kids and she's midlife, and so she's got all these people pulling at her, and at the end of the day she's exhausted and she's like, there's not enough hours in the day. How is Coach Marie going to get her through that? What kind of, besides the fact that you're coaching her, what kind, like, give me an example of what you'll do to help her get to that point.
Oh, I guess it could be like inspiration, motivation, and a plan of action.
What was the last part?
Plan of like planning.
Plan of action. Got it. I help midlife moms in the blank industry light a fire underneath them, so that at the end of the day they feel less exhausted. They feel less exhausted with more accomplished. So again, this isn't my niche, I'm making this up, right? But that would be an example. And then you got to try it by saying it out loud and making sure it rolls off the tongue, right? I help midlife moms in the service industry, and maybe I might even put the overwhelmed up here. I help overwhelmed. I think I'd put that up here. I help overwhelmed midlife moms in the service industry light a fire underneath them so that at the end of the day, they feel less exhausted with more accomplished. If I was a midlife mom in the service industry all day long, I'm giving. And then I go home and I still got my family. I'm giving. And then I'm depleted. And I read this, I'm like, whoa. Right? So what you got to do, which you're already doing, the cross check, because this is just a draft. This isn't necessarily the answer. It's just a draft. Your cross check now is we need at least 5 ICA surveys. What I do in the academy is I'm going to give you something called a trend worksheet. But to put that in layman's terms, you got to look for the golden thread of the words and the phrases that your ICAs used. And then you have to do a final update to your niche statement so that it mirrors the exact words and phrases. So, I'm making some of this up, right? I don't know that they're going to say, will it resonate with them? Light a fire underneath. Will it resonate with them that they want to feel like they got more done, less exhausted? Maybe there's a cleaner, more crisper way to say it. I just want to confirm that the words I'm using are the words I got from their survey. Make sense? Is that helpful?
Yes, very helpful. Just wondering about moms because I'm not actually I don't have children, but
Ah,
I'm surrounded by moms. But I guess I can help them too, even if I don't have children.
you could, but I don't want you to feel like you have to go for moms. I think the most important here, and this goes for everybody in picking your niche, when you're looking at what is the urgent problem that my people are dealing with, what is the urgent problem? You just need to match that urgent problem up with a who that has that urgent problem. So if your people are overwhelmed and they're midlife, you got to think about, so let me just write this here. What is the I'll put it like this. Who is the type of person that has the urgent problem you are coaching? That's really what it is. Moms was just an example. So if you're like, well, I'm not a mom, so it's kind of weird, like why is my who a mom? If what am I doing with that? So then it's like, okay, let's look at industries that or jobs that we know are, again, this is overwhelmed. We don't have to use the word burnout, but these are very overwhelmed. They need more time in the day. And honestly, they're probably on the verge of burnout. So we're looking for those types of industries or jobs. And then in terms of, I would also just ask yourself in her personal life, and maybe even looking at yourself as a former version of your client, just asking yourself, when I went through this, what was it about my personal life that I was having to balance with doing XYZ at work? Now, again, I'm not telling you this is the answer, but I'll give you an example. When I got my cancer diagnosis, you know, and I was in the midst of being an entrepreneur and, building my own solo business, those two things often conflicted, right? You can imagine. So that could be an example of like, they get some kind of a health problem and they're trying to, they're an entrepreneur trying to build this business. And it's like, I have to have my health as number one, but I also have to get, things done for the business or the business will cease to exist. Catch 22, need money to pay for health, need health to get the business, right? So that's just an example. So bottom line, Marie, don't go for moms if that's not you. That was just, the main thing here, I'm going to highlight it. This is your homework. I want you to chew on who is the type of human that has the urgent problem you're coaching. Industries or jobs, what's going on in their personal life. Match up the human to the problem. Make sense?
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. Let's see. I'm going to go to the comment section now. We're going to kind of go back and forth here a little. All right. Natalie. So I'm going to copy Natalie's. And let's see here. All over the place here. Let's see. Went through there, went through there. We'll come back. Okay. So I'm going to put Natalie here. Okay, here we go, Natalie. Your niche thus far. I assist with empowering men and women after a life-changing event. Divorce, empty nester, layoff to get back on track with what's next in their lives. Who wants to transform themselves? Help them get over feeling like a victim. Ooh, like that. Or having a victim mentality. So true. Okay, Natalie, you might know me well enough now to already know some of the questions I'm going to ask you. You probably do. I feel like we're becoming same brain at this point. I feel. What do you think might be some of the questions I ask you? And this is a good niche, by the way. There's definitely something here, but what are some questions you think I might ask you?
I would say Do I have to be more specific with what type of men and women?
Yes,
I
that's
do.
one, but
Okay.
we'll come back to that. Anything else?
Um, I guess I need to be more specific with um like, like I gave the examples like divorce, empty nester, layoff.
Mm-hmm. You got
And
it.
and the, and the reason why I listed all three of those, because those were just some examples of, different things that people can be going through. That's why I listed those. But it's not like I'm necessarily going for anybody that's going through those things, but I
Some
tend to,
examples.
yeah, I tend to think that usually if after certain events of those, you don't know what to do. You don't know what's next. You're trying to
Yes,
figure out left or right. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
you're in uh like a transition phase, and maybe you're not the most okay. Let me tell you one thing for sure that I know is that I want to help people that feels not so positive. Okay,
Mm,
so you can be employed, you cannot be employed, but the point is you're just you're just not very positive. You don't have a positive outlook, and you always feel like why me? Why is this happening to me? Why can't, that type of individual.
okay, cool. That's good clarity. All right, so you're right on track, and there's something here within here. So let's talk about it as far as how far we can get on this call here. So the who, if we're going after both men and women, if that I'm going to put my notes underneath here. If we're going after men and women, which is fine, you don't always have to say men or women. If you're going after men and women, I would just, you know, not even say men and women. I would just say like no to the men and women. I would either choose one or just, describe the who without going there with the men and women, right? So like executives, moms, empty nesters, divorcees, like I wouldn't even, if it's men and women, I would just go straight to the who. Does that make sense? Just
Yes.
you can, we're going to just cut, chop, make it more to the point. So there's that. Now, I do want to say about the niche, and I guess this is a whole nother training. And by the way, if anybody wants the training on why a niche is important in attracting clients, put that into the chat, niche, and Heather or Tabitha can get that to you. But just high level, I just want to say from a marketer standpoint, the more specific y'all can get with your niche, the easier it will be to attract clients for so many reasons. I could go on and on and on. Part of it is SEO when people are searching a problem. Part of it's referrals when people are trying to figure out who do we refer to. And here's the other thing. What I do when I work with my clients, and this is what I want for all of you, I don't want to just say, oh yeah, Natalie's a coach for, people that are going through a life-changing event. I want you to not just have a niche. I want you to be the go-to expert authority in that space where people are like, oh, if you're talking about a divorce coach, she's your gal. She's got you. She's TED talking it. She's writing a book on it. She's quoted in Forbes on it. She's right. So the more specific you get, the higher up you can go as far as being an expert authority in that space. And the more we can position you as an expert authority in that space, the more clients will be attracted to you. And side note, even if you do pick one of these to focus on, you'll still have people in other, let's say you're an empty nester coach, you'll still have the layoff people saying, I'm far from your, and this used to be me as a career coach. I was helping unfulfilled corporate director and VP women, da da da. that was my niche. I had pink branding colors, you know?
Mm.
And I had men in the military reaching out and saying, well, we need help with our careers, and we need, you know, we know we're not your typical person you work with, but we like your training. We like your blogs. Is there any way you would? And so I ended up working with a bunch of men in the military. And the reason I share this is you don't have to feel like, oh, I'm leaving all these people out. If they're a right energy with you, if the problem is within the scope of what you do, it will still work. So what I want to say as far as the who, I would pick one of these. And I think as far as you saying, I want to help people who don't feel positive, they're, you know, the positive outlook, the why me. I mean, shoot, any of these could be that person, right? Divorce is, you know, I mean, again, like I said the other day, I haven't gone through it, knock on wood. Don't want to jinx myself, but I lived through it with my parents, and it's definitely this, right? People don't feel positive. People are wondering why me. So I would say divorce, layoff too. I've been through numerous layoffs, and there's no more victim mentality than, you know, why me? What did I do to deserve this? Why am I not good enough? Why did he get to keep his job and I'm out on the streets, right? So I'm just planting a seed in your brain. I would love for you to choose one of these and become the expert authority in that space. I help divorcees. I help empty nesters. I help XYZ type of people recently laid off. Does that make sense? I know it may not feel good, but does that make sense?
It does. It
Okay.
makes sense.
Okay. From a marketing standpoint, I promise you. And you even, if you heard that, I think you were there when I brought Trish on, and she's like, I still fight you on the niche, like laughingly, like we joke about that, but now she's killing it out there. You know what I mean? So I would pick one that resonates with you the most and help those people who all are going to be feeling this way. So what do you help them do? It's going to depend on who you pick. And so just for kicks and giggles, divorcee, empty nester, or layoff, if right now, and you can change your mind, which one jumps out at you as far as your calling? You can change your mind later.
Okay, I'll go with divorce.
Okay. So I would, you know, I help divorcees. Yeah, Siobhan's exactly, Siobhan. Whoever you choose, you can always help others as well if they come to you. Exactly. I help divorcees something so that so they no longer feel like a victim, so that they feel, it's almost like they want to start a whole new life. They want to redo their life. I help them reboot their lives so that they no longer feel like a victim and are excited to embark. That might be a little too much. You're not ready to feel excited right after a divorce. So it's like, woo, it's like, whoa. So that they no longer feel like a victim and feel confident to take this is the part that I need their words.
To take maybe like the next steps, or
well, it's like, what are the next steps that they're like, if you were talking to a divorcee who was like talking to you over a coffee and was like crying, and she's like, yeah, we just agreed to get a divorce. Like if you were like, if you asked her or him, like, hey, you know, Jim, if I talk to you a year from now, what do you wish for yourself? What do you wish life would look like after this divorce? What are you hoping for yourself a year from now?
I would say to feel whole again.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
So they no longer feel like a
to-
victim. Keep going.
To a year from now, I would say to feel whole again, to, some people want to find love again, you
Mhm.
know. Maybe start to find themselves. A
There
lot
it
of people.
is. Got to love yourself before you can find love again, right? I
Mhm.
help divorcees, and maybe that's here. I help divorcees. I help them reboot their lives so that they no longer feel like a victim, but instead learn to love themselves. I think that could be it. Learn to love themselves and feel whole again. And like the whole thing would be, you don't need another human to feel whole.
Right.
It starts with you. There's all these exercises I've got to do with you, the divorcee, to feel like you love yourself and you feel whole again and you feel confident. And then, should that be your choice to bring love back in, then we'll go there next. Right? So that, again, am I saying this is your niche and this shall be? I bequeath to you this niche? No. But that's an example of where I would take what you originally gave me. Does that
Right.
make sense?
It does.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right. Beautiful. So just again, think about these clues when you think about which of those you want to land on. Okay. I'll put them in the chat.
Got it.
All right.
Thank you so
Cool.
much.
You're welcome. A pleasure. Okay. Of course, I'm going longer than I said. So Tabitha and Heather, definitely you guys can drop off, and I'm going to keep going for these guys here. Let's see here. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Brianna, clarifying question. Is your inner circle different from who you do the ICA survey with? And I think we did cover this, but I want to just repeat it for anybody that wasn't on that call because it's a good question. About the inner circle, when we talked about the inner circle, is your inner circle different from who you do an ICA survey with, or can they be some of the same people? So the answer is your inner circle, yeah, it can be either one. It could be when you make a list of your network, everybody who know, like, and trust you in your inner circle, either the hope is either they refer you to someone in your niche so you can do an ICA survey with the referral, or you hope that they raise their hand and say, yeah, it's me. It's me. I'll do the ICA survey. So it's a great question. It's either one. It's either one. I want to remind you guys about this, the mindset and imposter syndrome. We talked about this on the last call. Charge what you're worth. I'm placing that in the Book of Discovery Call folder. It's a free training video that I created and an activity worksheet that I created so that you can feel more confident about starting a coaching business, transitioning from your job to a coaching business, and charging what you're worth. So really, really powerful stuff. That's going to go in your free training vault. If you book a discovery call, here's the Book of Discovery Call link. I talked about the other day, again, some of you may remember this, that you probably want to send a prep call before the complimentary coaching call, especially if the person doesn't understand what coaching is. You want to give them a link to an article about what is coaching. You don't want to spend half the call explaining what is a coach. They need to be prepped and educated on that. So I wrote an example article. Now, granted, I wrote it for my specific niche at the time, but really in that article, what I want you to see not only is see the example, because you can go write it yourself, but there's 2 videos I found from YouTube just about the power of coaching that, like, I mean, maybe I'm sensitive, but they almost moved me to tears, these videos on how powerful coaching is. So I also put that in the, I'm putting that in your free folder of resources if you book your discovery call tonight or by tomorrow. Okay, scrolling, and then I'll go back to the chat. Scrolling. Talked about Natalie's. Okay. Natalie mentioned on day 1, this is just things I grabbed from the chat, staying focused on not procrastinating, which is so important. And I totally understand can be so challenging as an entrepreneur. So part of that is the support you receive and the people you surround yourself by. I am a firm believer that when you build a business in a bubble, it is very hard not to get into shiny object syndrome, right? This is where accountability comes in. So the way that it looks like in our program, right? Because every program is different. Your business coach, that's me, is going to be there to help keep what I call the horse blinders on for you when it comes to what you're working on. And we're going to use my signature method to make sure you're going in the right order and that you're focused on what you need to be focused on. So part of that is me, what I'm there. You're hiring me to help you with that. Part of that is your success coach. Sometimes we refer to them as accountability coaches. These ladies are graduates of my program. Also, we have IPEC success coaches as well. Literally, that's their job. Literally, that's what I'm paying for, that to keep you accountable, to stay focused, to hit your targets. And what's cool about these ladies is that we actually give you guys a survey on how you best respond to what type of coaching, because there's 4 different types of, you know, what motivates you and how you stay accountable. So we give you that survey, and then your success coaches are going to coach you based on your profile. We also have a 30-day goal worksheet that's going to keep you focused, so that when all these different shiny objects are coming in, oh, look at that, look at that, look at that. Literally, we're going to have you, like, whatever it takes, print out your 30-day goal sheet, stick it in the front of your computer, and everything else that comes shooting at you, have you put it in a sandbox document. We'll get to that when we get to that. But again, horse blinders to what we're focused on. So you'll have an accountability coach who works privately with you and a peer pod. And that usually really helps as well. Of 4 to 6 people that you meet with every other week. And when you guys are ending your call, it's what are we holding each other accountable to this week? So there's all these elements of the program of people that are going to be lovingly holding you accountable, holding you in the way that you want to be held accountable, because all of us respond differently. So that's my answer there, as far as, you know, and we all go through this, staying focused and not procrastinating. Marie had asked about learning how to build a coaching business as you're starting your journey, or you were just saying that's the intention you were setting. And so what I wanted to say to you, Marie, and anyone else who's watching this live or replay, tomorrow, the last session we have is going to be the best session for that overall high level. These are the steps you must take to build the business. So that's when we're going through the 30,000 foot view, high level, so that you're not like, where am I? Who am I? What's going on? You'll know exactly what those high level steps are. So for Marie, this intention you set, tomorrow's session will be the most important. Sean talked about how to generate lots of leads. And by the way, guys, I'm ripping through these, but come off mute if this is you and you have a question on it. How to generate lots of leads for Sean. So, you know, it's a 2-part answer, right? And so again, this wasn't really a question you asked. It was more of an intention you set that I'm circling back on. So part of that was this week's workshop, right? We talked about Your first set of leads is going to be warm leads from your inner circle, right? It's going to be your inner circle that are either going to raise their hands and say, I'm your ICA, survey me, or they're going to say, I'm not your ICA, but I'll refer you to someone who is, right? And then your ICA surveys become a complimentary coaching call. Your complimentary coaching call moves into the pitch. And as we're seeing in the chat here and some of the DMs and some of the people we're talking to, people are already booking complimentary coaching calls. And I see it every time, people booking clients just coming out of this workshop alone. So, there's that. And then as far as the second part of generating lots of leads, right? The bigger picture in the Academy is module 4. So it's what I call the client attraction system. And this is where now, at a certain point, you get through the know, like, and trust, and you're like, okay, now there's a whole world out there above and beyond my niche, my network. There's a whole world. How do I get to all those people? Right? So that's what we teach you in the program. And the way I describe it is, it's kind of like the client attraction system, the way we teach it, it's like seeing a wheel, okay? And every spoke on the wheel is a different way to attract clients. All right. So we're going to teach you all of those spokes on the wheel. The cool thing about it, because I think people can get overwhelmed when they see the spokes on the wheel, it's like, I just want to coach. But if you learn it the right way, what you're going to learn is part of what's on that wheel, those spokes, the client attraction, how to generate leads, can be automated. And part of those, how to generate leads, can be delegated or outsourced. Okay. And I'm not talking about, I need all this money to build a team, right? You could get an intern to help you start. There's a lot of options out there. So we're going to teach you what that looks like. I've mentioned to you guys that social selling is going to be a big piece of this. And that's just a way of outreaching that you're going to need to learn. Simple as that. And the good news is it's not icky or sticky or you feel kind of dirty doing it. It's not when you get a message and you're like, oh, why is this person messaging me? It's authentic. It's giving value. It's building relationships. And it's truly waking up every day and saying, who can I serve today? And finding the people you click with. Okay. Heather was talking about brainstorming a client, their demographics, and the problem that they need help solving. And again, this might have been when we were talking about intentions. And I think, from what you said here, Heather, the most important thing is going to be, what is the problem that you want to coach on the most? That's where I would recommend you start out of who's my client, who's my ICA, what are their demographics, what's the problem? There's all these things, right? I would actually say, well, you get a choice. You could start with, who's my perfect client? Now let me figure out what problems they have. I'll pick a problem. Or you could start with the problem and say, okay, this is the problem I want to coach on. Who out there has that problem? Now, what I've learned over time is people tend to be happier. This is what I've seen, okay? But by all means, you can try it the opposite way. Everything's a test. People tend to be happier if they first identify, what's the problem that I am the most passionate about solving, about coaching on. That urgent problem that I will rip my sheets off on a Monday because I'm like, I get to coach on this today, right? To me, that's where to start, because that's where the passion's going to come from. So I would start there. And how do you figure that out? The problem you want to solve? Again, that goes back up to all these different exercises here that we talked about in the beginning. Okay. Now, once you've identified, okay, now I know the problem I want to solve. And now I know the problem I want to solve. Then it's all about identifying who are the humans who have those problems. Now, that's where the coach, me, that's where I come into action, right? That's going to take some like rolling up the sleeves and coaching you through you know, having a session together and talking through who are all the different types of humans that would potentially have that problem. Now, what else could help you with that? Good old Google, right? Who has XYZ type of problem? Good old Chat GPT. What kind of people have this type of problem, right? But really, as a coach who's seen it all, I mean, I have list of different niches and the who and the who helps who with what. You know, it helps to have a human go through that with you, but you can always start with doing a little research online. As far as the ICA surveys, and you mentioned the demographics, yeah, there's a lot of different ways. I have a lesson in the program, Mod 1, Lesson 5. I have these like memorized by heart, where we create the ICA profile. And I find that to be a fun lesson because we really get in deep with who this human is, down to what they look like, so you can envision them. And so demographics, yeah, we want to think about, you know, and you don't need to know all these things, but it's like, yeah, is it a man or a woman, or does it not matter? Is there a certain age bracket, or does that not matter? Is there a certain job industry they're in for work, or does that not matter? Is there a certain job title that they have, or does that not matter? What's their family situation? Are they single? Are they married? Are they divorced? Do you want to put psychographic into play, right? So we go over all those things. But the biggest thing, again, when it comes to your mentioning of brainstorming the client, the demographics, the problem they need, the biggest thing that I want everyone to take away is it's got to be in their words, right? Betty Kempa can help you get there, but really in the academy, I have a trend worksheet that we are going to input all of your surveys into the trend worksheet so we can see the golden thread. What are the phrases and words that are repetitively used throughout those surveys? Nerman, great question here. I want to answer this. All of you should take notes here. The characteristics of an ideal client. So here's the most important thing, I think. So I would, you know, again, there's a whole module I have devoted to this in my program, but let me just high level it for you. First off, we want an ideal client who wants to work with you, right? And vice versa. The analogy, like it's like a first date, right? They should want to work with you, and you should want to work with them. Now, what would make them want to work with you? Other than you, sometimes it's just an energy thing, and that is really unexplainable. It just is what it is. But it's in terms of, you know, you want a qualified person. Now, what's qualified? What does that mean? There's 4 types of somebody being pre-qualified. There has to be a need. So when that's why I keep saying urgent problem, not just a problem, an urgent one. Not just something they'd like, something they'd pay anything to solve. Why am I saying that? Because the characteristics of an ideal client, there should be a need. Do they need what you offer? And if so, how badly do they need what you offer? There's also timing, right? Is the timing right? Is the timing right? Why is now the time for them to hire a coach versus any other time? And to be real, a lot of people have procrastinated on this for a long time. And it's just kind of shooting themselves in the foot, right? So that's where you have to kind of get underneath the hood with them and identify what will happen if you don't get help, right? Internally, externally, right? Every month that goes by that you don't get help on this, what are you missing out on? So is the timing right? Number 3, budget or affordability, right? So it's good, I think, to have more than one package. That's good. You know, we've also customized some packages, but package pricing, you know, it should be a fit. It shouldn't be, you know, it should be like, hey, like in their minds, the problem that they want to solve is so important to them in a way it's priceless. in a way, it's priceless, right? And then last, in terms of this ideal client, they should want to work with you. They should want to, not just any coach. I want a coach. I want a divorce coach. I want a business coach. They should want to work with you, right? And you should be asking them, why do you want to work with me? Because if they can't answer that, do you really want to work with them? Right? And then it's also, you know, the type of human you want to work with above and beyond pre-qualification. What kind of human do you want? And part of that's just going to happen for you over time. The more people you coach, the more you're going to learn. And what I have my clients do is build out a spreadsheet that says, this program might be for you if, and then you describe all the things that are the type of human you want to work with. Open-minded, you're action-oriented, you know, whatever, right? Type of human they are. And this program may not be for you if you have excuses, you don't do the work, you don't show up, right? So that's the kind of thing you learn over time. The more that you coach, the more this comes up for you. I think we talked about this one. Sade is spiritual coaching, a life coach considered a coaching title. And I think Heather had given you an answer, and I did as well. I think what I had said is I would drop the word life out of there and call yourself a spiritual coach, if in fact that accurately gave a good overview on the type of problem you're solving. So I think, Sade, what would be important is that your coaching title should not just match with the umbrella topics. I mean, yeah, but spirituality, just like anything else, business, transition, is going to have some subtopics. What I tend to find is a lot of times and again, it may be different for you, but I've had clients who will, you know, be a spiritual coach, but the spiritual part will be the bridge, what you have helped them with in order to get them to a certain outcome. So it may or may not be that way for you, but I had a client and we called her a spiritual relationship coach. And she was in, I think I told you guys, she was in your shoes. She came to a workshop and we talked about her niche. After the workshop, she brought in $13,000 in 1 month, her biggest month she ever had. But the point here was she wanted to be a spiritual coach. So she looked at the umbrellas of, you know, where does she want to focus? What's the urgent problem she wants to use spirituality to help people solve? And it was really, you know, in relationships, when people break up and they're, what's wrong with me? And let me quick go out and find somebody new. She's like, no, I'm going to help you with, you know, use spirituality to find yourself, to love yourself, to become whole, all the things we were just talking about. And once you learn to love yourself and build a relationship with yourself, then you can start to look at relationships with others. So anyways, spiritual coach is what I'd go with. And then once we got into your niche more, I think we could probably add one more layer of being specific there. Like I said, just come off mute if you have any questions there. Brianna, if a few areas intrigue you, which I think for most of us, right? We're kind of like, it could be this, it could be that, it could be this. Couple things. I think number one, doing these activities are going to help. Doing these activities are going to help, right? Usually, so if you were in the academy, our first coaching call, right? This would be something that we dig into. Where was it? Here. I lost her. Where was it? This would be something that we dig into, your preferences, right? I think also after you do some of those activities, doing ICA surveys, Brianna, I would actually recommend you do ICA surveys. Let's say you're like, oh, maybe I'll be a business, maybe I'll be a career. I would literally tell you, Brianna, go out and do a couple ICA surveys for this, a couple for this, a couple for this. Just doing an ICA survey is going to give you the feel of, do I want to coach on that all day long? Because sometimes we go into an ICA survey thinking, oh, people are going to want this type of coaching. And then we come out of the ICA survey realizing, oh no, they actually want this type of coaching. Do you see what I mean? We think, I don't know, that career coaching is like, oh, let me help you find your passion. And then you do the survey and everybody's like, oh, I want to be promoted and I want more money. And you're like, oh, okay, this isn't what I thought it was. So I would say, I would recommend do ICA surveys with the ones you're considering. You're going to get a good feeling for what you're being pulled towards. And then I would also, even do some complimentary coaching calls with various areas. I mean, shoot, if your first couple clients, you had one here, one here, one here, great. And then I would tell you to notice how you feel before the call. Like, are you looking forward to it or dreading it? And then notice how you feel after the call. Are you hyped up? Are you woohoo? Like, you guys, I'm a lunatic when I get off one of these calls because I love business and marketing and copy. And I'm like niche, I'm geeking out. Ryan's like, calm down, it's almost midnight. Come on now. That means I'm in the right space, right? So see how you feel after coaching so test. Pat shared his coaching title, Professional Organizer for Building Your Legacy. And by the way, one of my first clients, professional, she coached people on organization. So she didn't necessarily go do it for them, but she would coach them on how to do it. Urgent problem you coach people to solve, helping people purge and organize their possessions, papers, and digital files. Oh, it's so good. I need to hire you for my mom and my dad and create a legacy file box with important papers, photos, and memories. That is literal. Everybody take a screenshot. That is a niche. That's what I'm talking about. That is a great niche. It couldn't be any more specific, right? He couldn't be any more specific, or she, I don't know, Pat. The only thing I would say, and I don't know, I don't think Pat's here, but if you're watching the replay, the only thing that throws me off here is the people. Because I'm like, is this for like my mom who's like kind of hoarding things? And mom, if you're watching this, I love you. And it's okay. It's okay to keep a couple things around the house. But when I see this, people, are we talking about like our parent, or are we talking about like a business? Are we talking about like an executive? Are we like, who is the, like, that's the only part that I've lost. You've lost me a little bit. So if you could just talk about the age bracket, is this for personal? And you'd probably tell me, well, anybody who needs help with this. But I would just say it'd be easier for you to attract clients if you get more specific with the who, but great niche. Brianna, is your inner circle different from, yeah, we talked about that. Marie, this was just on day 3. I think we were talking about different social media places to go and look for ICAs maybe. And you were thinking about LinkedIn, but you're not as familiar with it. Listen, I would say when it comes to doing your ICA, posting or DMs and looking for help, that's the time to practice on those social media profiles or platforms that you're like, I'm just kind of getting used to this. I don't use it that much. Now is a greatest time as ever to get in there and test. But I think just what's more important is long-term picking the social media platform. That's what's more important. When we talk about for your ICA surveys, like go ahead and, even if you're uncomfortable, just test it out, right? Like if you were my client, I'm literally going to just share my screen and walk you through it, right? But test it out. Long-term, I think what's more important is understanding where does your ICA hang out? And if it happens to be LinkedIn, which by the way, I'm a big LinkedIn fan for finding people, but if it happens to be LinkedIn, that's where you would learn, right? In mod 4 of our program, we have a whole training section on a LinkedIn profile. One of the bonuses is then I audit your profile after you do the training. And then we have a whole session about how to post on LinkedIn, right? So it's, yeah, I mean, for now, test, get your feet dirty, take action, imperfect action, and long-term training. Shaban, curious to hear your thoughts on pre-selling. Yeah, curious to hear your thoughts on pre-selling. Shaban, can you come off mute and share a little bit? I mean, I know what pre-selling is, but like where are you at with that, or where did you hear about it, or what are you hoping to do with it? Tell me more.
Hi, Betty.
Hey.
So I've heard some people saying that it's potentially a good idea, in terms of like the idea of like testing things out and like just seeing if there's like viable interest in your program or your services before you like go ahead and make everything
Before
to go
going
into
all
your
out.
signature program, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
what's your definition of pre-selling? Because I've heard different people refer to pre-selling as different types of things. Are you talking
yeah.
so what do you mean by it?
I don't know if I fully understand it.
Okay, then I'll give you a kind of general based on what I think it is. So pre-selling, I think I just describe it differently. I think I just don't use the terminology pre-selling, but I think what I teach is something similar. So let's use an example, and then Shaban, tell me if this makes sense to you. Okay. Let's make believe that we come up with your niche and then we create your package. And let's say that it's valued at 20K and we want to price it at 10K, and and that's where we're at. Okay, I'm making this up. What I would say is, like, if before you, for example, if you come into my program, I have an on-demand learning center, videos, worksheets, this, that, the other. I would not create all that stuff until you first validated the market. So I suppose you could pre-sell as part of validating the market, but it also depends on the price point. If you're selling something at a higher price point, selling it before it's ready could be challenging. If it's lower ticket, it's easier to pre-sell. What I like to do is founder's rate. So, and this is what I did myself and what a lot of my clients do. So let's say you're like, yeah, I want to sell this package at 10K. I haven't built it out yet. I don't have this big digital platform, and it's just me so far, but this is a niche. I would say do a founder's rate. I don't like to like, how do I put this? Like, I want you guys to dive in and to start taking imperfect action and to be testing and to be dipping your toes in the water. I totally agree. Please don't build out this massive program to find out, oh, I don't like it, or oh, the market isn't validated, right? So we do a lot of work in Mod 1 on validating the market to make sure, and that's also part of the ICA surveys, to make sure that people are willing to buy it. I would honestly say, Shaban, I mean, but it also depends on your bandwidth. If you have enough bandwidth to handle clients, I would say right now, as you're doing ICA surveys and then offering a complimentary coaching call, and then at the end doing coaching with you, give them a founder's rate, something that's not going to be your long-term, bigger, high ticket rate. The first 5 people, or for the rest of 2024, however you want it to be, give them a founder's rate and just coach, be a coach, just coach, give them a founder's rate, something they can't say no to. But that way you're practicing your coaching, you're learning what you like and don't like, you're gathering testimonials, which, by the way, everybody should be wanting to gather testimonials. That's a big deal. And they're like gold. They're like gold. And then, you know, after you've done that, at a certain point, you can say, okay, we've got 1 week left until the founder's rate is over. So does that make sense to you? Or do you have any other clarifying questions around the notion of pre-selling?
Yeah, no, I think that that makes sense. It's
Okay.
still percolating, but yeah,
Yeah.
no, that makes sense.
So I think, and so I guess, because I don't want to confuse you, I don't think I'm a fan of pre-selling. Like based on what I just said, I don't think I'm a fan of waiting list, pre-selling. I'd rather just get out there. Now, I want you to validate the market. I want you to do market research. And I don't want you to build a huge thing before you validated the market. But I think tomorrow, I mean, if you've been certified as a coach, tomorrow you could start coaching somebody and you're providing a service that they could pay you for. You don't need all the bells and whistles, right? So yeah, I don't think I'm a pre-selling fan. I have a different way of going about it, of validating the market and getting paid at the same time. Make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes
Okay.
perfect sense. Thanks, Betty.
I decided something I didn't like today. And by the way, take everything I say just as you should with any business coach with a grain of salt. You know, that's why I have a business board of directors where there's a group of us who will discuss each client and I'll give you our points of view. Just because that's my preference in the way of doing things. You know, I think pre-selling makes sense in certain situations, just not with higher ticket, in my opinion. Brianna cracks me up. I don't know if you're here with us today, Brianna, but every time I see, no, she either was here or is watching the replay. We were talking about ICA survey. She said, what about the god awful parent class WhatsApp group at my daughter's private school, which really made me laugh. So I think if she was here, I would ask her, but I think we were talking about ICA surveys and how do you find, and I was telling you guys, get out there. Like I was saying, you could go to a PTO group, a parent teacher organization, your neighborhood group, alumni. So if Brianna was here, what I'd say to her, if there's a group of people out there that are in your network and you're like, oh, should I go to that group for ICAs? No, I wouldn't go to this group if you think they're god awful because you don't want them to be clients and you probably don't really want to work with anybody they refer you to either. If you're not a fan of that circle, we're looking for the unicorns. We're looking for the people we do want to work with. So if this is our description, the answer is no, thumbs down. Marie, how can you set up your prices when you are starting? So again, another really good question. So again, I think it kind of has something to do with what I was just talking about. When you're first starting, okay, couple things. One, we're looking for people, best case scenario, that have been coached before. Because if they've been coached before, they understand the value of coaching and we don't have to convince them, you need coaching, because that is like, wah, wah. So that's number one, is I would try to find people that have been coached before, because then they understand the value of coaching. If they understand the value, then they're not going to balk at the pricing. That's number one. Number two, how can you set up your prices when you're first starting? Like I said, founder's rate. You don't have to come out the gate. Now, long-term, and I teach you guys this in Mod 2 of the Academy, I help you guys, and this is what I really love to do. I help you guys create your own signature method. I do this brainstorm activity. Then we create a list of deliverables that are going to go in your package. And we want your package value. Bye, Marty. If you had a question in here, I'll DM you the answer. Bye-bye. How do you set up your pricing when starting? So I would say, you know, we want that value of what you're providing to be about double the pricing. But in the beginning, what you guys learned this week, literally, you can start tomorrow, right? You can start coaching tomorrow. So I would just choose a founder's rate. I would choose a founder's rate. Now, something else you're going to learn if you come into the academy and mod 1, we go a lot deeper with ICA surveys, is asking questions to your ICAs. You can ask questions like, after they tell you, this is the urgent problem I'd pay anything to have solved. You can ask them something like, and this is all in the academy. Hey, you mentioned this was the urgent problem. Put a price ticket on that for me. How much would you pay to have that problem solved for you? Let them tell you. Let's say they lowball you and give you like a, oh, I'd pay, like, I don't know, because I don't know what we're necessarily talking about here. But let's say that they give you a lowball answer that you're like, really? That's all you'd pay? Then it's one of two things. Either A, they're not your ideal client avatar because that's not their urgent problem. B, it's not an urgent enough problem. Or C, a great follow-up to that question would be, okay, great. So you said you'd pay $2,000 for this problem to be solved. Think outside of the box. Imagine if anything was possible, what would have to be included in the coaching program for you to be willing to pay double what you just said, and then just zip your lip and let them tell you what would be so valuable for you to cover in your coaching program that they'd pay double what they just said. Okay. Now, if you want the super generic answer, I said this the other day. I wouldn't, if it's one-on-one coaching, I wouldn't go below 300 an hour. Now, we don't talk to clients about hourly rates because that's not how we talk about it. But just between us coaches, I don't think it's right for y'all who've gone and gotten certified and you're providing this transformational service to be charging less than that, unless you're doing a founder's rate. And then it's fine. A founder's rate. Now, if I was your coach, I would start asking you questions on what's the least amount you'd be willing to charge? What's the greatest amount you'd be willing to charge? And then we'd probably find somewhere in the middle as a founder's rate. And if it was too low, then we do a method where it's kind of like a staircase. You have a client, you successfully coach them, you've gained experience, maybe you add something to the package, price goes up. The main thing is when you're setting up your prices in the start, don't keep them stagnant. That's the problem most coaches have. It's okay to be super cheap in the beginning because you're trying to get testimonials, you're trying to get practice, you're trying to get all these things, but just don't stay there. Don't stay there because every client you coach is more experience. So we got to keep adding value and experience. And every time you add value and experience, the price staircases upwards. Okay. I wish I just had a number that I could give you, but it depends on a lot of things. This is something, Marie, if you were in the academy, we would knock out in our first one-on-one session. Okay. And then for sure, and I think you booked a discovery call. In the discovery call resources, like I said, I'm adding that charge what you're worth document. I want you to go through that document and then get back to me after you read that document. Okay. A couple other things, then we'll call her a night. I know this is always a longer one because I try to get through everybody's questions. We talked about what do you do once you book a discovery call with us. It's the agenda is value, challenges and goals, and solution. First, we give you value. That's both coaching on a challenge. We give you the link to the folder of free resources. So everybody gets a with them, what's in it for me, some kind of value. Then we need to dig into what are your challenges and goals, because we need to understand the scope of your problem and need if it's a matchup. Okay, we may need to ask questions for clarity. And then the solution. So this is where we're going to identify, based on what you shared here, the gap between where you are now and where you want to be. So we're going to be able to tell you, Here's where you are. You want to be here. This is what you got to do next. Okay. Now, if we think we are a potential match, that goes both ways. We will then talk through potential solutions, right? So if we think that you're a fit, we'll share the different coaching package options, the different pricing options, and make a recommendation. Okay. And if you're sitting here and watching the replay or watching it live and you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't know if I want to join this program. That's literally the discovery call, right? I don't want you to leave this workshop with, well, I don't know. Should I have? Shouldn't I have? You should leave the workshop with, okay, I totally understand where the gap is and what I'm doing. I totally understand the steps on what I need to do next. I totally understand what programs they offer, and I totally understand the pricing, right? Get your research done, because if you're serious about this, like I said, I've never been without a coach myself. But bottom line, you should get both value and clarity out of the discovery call. What does it cost? What does it cost? That's always a very normal question. Of course it is. What does it cost? So we do have multiple pricing options depending on the program you sign up for. And we've actually added new program options. For the first time, we've added new program options. So again, we don't, part of this process, I told you guys this, is it's applying for the program. So that's going to mean we have to have a conversation with you. Whether you work with us one-on-one or in the group, we have to vet people. Okay, that's super, super important. So it doesn't make sense for us to say, here's the price, click here and pay. That doesn't even, the conversation's null and void until we first identify is what you need within the scope of what we teach. And are we an energetic fit? Do we want to work together? Do we want to go on a second date? So, you know, there are multiple pricing options. We will talk about that on the discovery call. How long is the academy? It's a 1-year-long mastermind. We created the duration very intentionally to allow us to truly hold your hand in getting to the finish line of standing up your business. This is not a one and done quickie coaching session. It's a complete, comprehensive, all-in-one solution. What's included in the Corporate to Six-Figure Coach Academy? Real quick here for the people who haven't seen it yet, and I won't spend too long here. But there's the human component and the digital component, the human and the digital component, right? So I told you guys to take what I say with a grain of salt. Why do I say that? Because we have a team, and all of the people, me as your business coach, your success and accountability coach, your copy coach, your money mindset coach, your peer pod, the entire mastermind, we will all be weighing in on your challenges, your problems, and the outcomes you're trying to achieve, right? So it's really important. I don't want you ever going out into the wild blue yonder and listening to these business coaches that, oh, I have all the answers. It's not like that, right? A lot of times certain things could work for certain situations, but it depends on the person. It depends on the situation, right? That's why we have a group of us who will speak on a regular basis and identify, right, how can we help each client we're working with. So this is your board of directors, in a sense, your business board of directors, and you will get an invite to the in-person event in St. Petersburg, Florida, which I am very excited about. We'll be able to see everybody in person. Here's a digital component. So when we say we give you the keys to the kingdom, you get immediate access to the on-demand learning center. If you opt for it, so if you do not have a if you already have a website and you're like, I don't need a website, we'll take that off your pricing. We'll deduct that if you're like, I don't need that. But I would say if you don't have a website, this is going to save you so much time and money. We will build your website for you. We have website page templates. You'll have a kickoff call with the designer and tech support along the way. I won't get into all of this, but every single tool that you could imagine building or needing for your business is a part of this program. So my motto is don't reinvent the wheel. 2 ways to work with me: one-on-one or group. You can work with me either way. I will be totally transparent and say both options are currently available. One-on-one is limited. I only work with a handful of people, so that is limited. And I will tell you, even the group, we keep our groups intimate on purpose. My business model, I don't want to have 100 people in my group coaching program. I don't want it. I want to know everyone's name. I want to know your dog's name. I want to know where you live. I want to know your niche. I want to know where you're at. I want to know where you need help. I want to know how you want to be coached. I don't want to get through a year coaching program and you're like, oh, I never talked to Betty once. That sounds horrible. And I know way too many coaching programs like that. So we are the opposite of that. We're a much more intimate group. All right. Who is the program for? Who is the program for? It's in our name, right? Successful corporate renegades or executives who are ready to ditch the 9-to-5 and build their 6-figure coaching business. We've got a lot of coaches in the program who have coaching certifications who are still in their corporate job. Right. A lot of our clients are in their jobs still. We tend to attract a lot of human resources, training and development, learning and development, people operations, recruitment. I think probably because those just happen to be natural coaches. We have many coaches from IPEC, although that's not a prerequisite. It just happens to be where I went. We do have some clients that are not in corporate. But, you look on paper, and, if you were to talk to their relatives or their friends, it's like, oh yeah, they're doing great on paper, but they're just not fulfilled. You're not fulfilled with that. That's not your calling. Coaching's your calling. I'm not a corporate professional. Is it still for me? It's kind of the same answer. So here's the bottom line. If you are absolutely motivated to become a coach and you are ready to make an investment in your business and yourself, if you're serious about this, absolutely, it's for you. But again, this is part of why we run calls with people, right? So we can make sure that you're in it and ready to take action. How often are new trainings added to the program? It's our job. So when you hire me and my team, we don't have a static digital course. It's the opposite of that. It's our job to stay in the know with new marketing, messaging, and sales techniques. Our program is constantly being updated with new trainings that we add to our on-demand learning center, and that is included in your membership. What if I need Betty's support in between calls? You have unlimited access to me in between calls. Obviously, I'm not going to answer a call at 3 a.m., but you do have unlimited access in between calls with certain parameters, obviously. What else? And by the way, we encourage our clients to reach out with questions, or if you want feedback in between sessions. I actually really, how do I want to put this? I really try to shake my clients into reaching out to me in between calls, because I don't want you to have to wait a full week and say, oh, I was struggling with this. And then I'm like, why? We could have figured this out over communication in between calls. So I want you to reach out. Will I get copywriting help during the program? Absolutely. We have a copy coach. That's the point of our copy coach. And we've got a template for just about everything. Do I have to be posting on social media 24/7 in order for the program to be successful? No. Social media is an integral piece of building a virtual 6-figure coaching business. I'm not going to sit here and be like, throw the social media away. Yeah. Why wouldn't you want to post on social media? You could have a worldwide client base. However, we are the experts. We will provide you with a social media calendar template, social media graphics, social media training. We'll teach you also, which is cool, how to automate or delegate your social media so you can focus more on coaching and less on what am I going to post today? That's not how your head should be. How much time do I need to commit to doing the work in this program? It depends on how fast you want to stand up your six-figure coaching business, right? It depends on how fast you want to do the thing. That's kind of the beauty of the On-Demand Learning Center, is that you can move as fast or slowly as you want to. We spread the program out over a year so that you can balance working your full-time job for a period of time while standing up your coaching business. So I will tell you that we've built this program, the Academy, accounting for the fact that all our clients are super busy. Okay. All of our corporate, the Six-Figure Coach Academy, our clients are busy. They're slammed. Most of my clients are working a full-time job, parents, and everything else in between. On average, I would say our clients usually spend 4 to 6 hours per week working on their business. Some want to take it slower. They'll work less. Some want to expedite it. They're like, let's go, let's go, let's go. They'll do more. So we kind of iron that out with you in the beginning. How do I know if the timing is right for me to start this program? What if I'm still in my 9 to 5? What if I'm still getting certified as a coach? It is recommended that you start this program while still in your corporate job. This actually will take the stress out of feeling like you have to rush in standing up your business. Ideally, what we want is to get your business fully up and functioning before you leave your corporate gig so that it's a smooth transition for you. It is up to you whether or not you have the bandwidth to take the program while still getting certified as a coach. I will say that we have a healthy mixture of some clients that are certified and some who are still getting certified. Okay, so that's a conversation you kind of need to have with yourself. But again, on the discovery call, we're happy to dig into it with you to kind of identify, is the timing right? Or you can DM me. I'm happy to chat with you. I think we talked enough about niches. Do I have to make building or running my coaching business my whole life? I hope not, right? Like that's not why we became coaches, to have no balance to our lives, to go into burnout. So part of what I will be teaching you is how to automate, eliminate, delegate, streamline. For some of you, depending on your goals, scale. So our program is meant to give you more freedom, and that includes time freedom. I told you guys about some of my clients. Vicky, one of my clients, she was full-time corporate job. She's got her kids. She brought in 23K in 2 weeks while she was transitioning into building her business. Roseanne, do you have to be certified to be in the program? You don't. You don't have to be certified to be in the program. I do think you'll want to get certified as a coach at some point. I think you'll want to be certified because that's just going to be another tool in your tool belt to feel more confident about how you coach. But, is it a qualification to be in the academy? No. Do I think you'll get certified at some point? Yeah, probably. If you're serious about it, I do. But do you have to be certified to join us? No. Thanks, Tabitha, for dropping in the link. Maybe as we wrap up, Tabitha, if you could drop in the link for people to book their call one more time. And I'll say this too, as far as, is it my whole life? I help my clients create a CEO schedule. For me, I have my days blocked off: Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So it's not about building your calendar around your business. It's about building your business around the life you want to create. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's like riding a unicorn your first year. It's magical. It's tough. The first year, you've got to lean in the first year. But the idea here is that we identify, clarify, and envision the life you want to create. And then we work backwards and we set up a coaching business that's going to support the life you want to create. That's the idea. Okay. It's about systems, support, and teams. Getting the system, support, and teams in place. I think that's it. So before we sign off tonight, and honestly, there's probably a couple more questions in the Facebook group. So I will be in the Facebook group tonight and tomorrow. So either DM me, DM your workshop concierge, or post a question in the Facebook group, or ask the question during the discovery call. That's what this discovery call is for. These are our bonuses. Y'all, there's only 1 day left. 1 day. Bye, Marie. We're done now. You're good to go, Marie. You guys are my warriors staying on with me almost this whole time. So here are bonuses, $8,600 worth of bonuses, but you have to book your call by tomorrow. And if you've already ran your call, with us, you have until tomorrow to submit your first payment in order to redeem your fast acting bonuses. Now, before I hop off, is there anyone here that I missed a question out of all those questions? If there is, speak now. Or I won't say forever hold your peace. I'll say hold your peace until tomorrow. Anyone that I missed? Going once, going twice. All right, y'all. Well, you are definitely my workshop warriors, staying on this late with me. Tomorrow is our last session. Can you believe it? Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, 4 p.m. Pacific. We're going over the 5 mistakes that coaches make, and I've seen them make it time and time again, that prevents them from building a 6-figure coaching business. I've lived it, I've learned it, I've seen it, and I don't want you to go through the same thing. So really important session. Any final questions that you have, post in the Facebook group, DM me, or DM your workshop concierge, any way that you want to reach out to us, or bring it to the discovery call. It's much easier to just speak face to face. All right, big virtual hugs. Enjoy your dinner tonight. Watch something good on TV. That's going to be my question tomorrow. I must know what you are all watching on TV. I think, no, Golden Bachelorette's on Wednesday. I'm going to start on that. My significant other is always giving me, teasing me about my type of TV I watch. He's like, you're so smart. Why do you watch that? I'm like, it's good. I don't know why. Turn my brain off. All right, Natalie, thank you for joining. Roseanne, Heather, Tabitha, big hugs. Bye, y'all. See you tomorrow.